Grab it and put it in.
They tried to hide these haunted objects forever, but the truth leaked out violently, horrifying everyone watching.
For decades, museums have sealed away artifacts so dangerous, so disturbingly active, that even trained scientists refuse to study them alone. Some objects throb with unexplained heat. Others whisper through glass cases at night. A few have triggered mass hallucinations, violent tremors, and electrical blackouts that experts still cannot explain. These are not props, not illusions, not myths. These are real items locked underground in restricted vaults. Objects that have made seasoned researchers abandon their careers in terror. And now, for the first time, you're about to see what museums desperately hoped the world would never discover. Why were these relics hidden? What forced scientists into silence? And what kind of power is still waking inside them right now?
Before we dive into the secrets they tried to bury, don't forget to like and subscribe.
The Locked Ragged Secret. Recorded during a late-night maintenance sweep at the Warren-style occult vault in 2024, a security tech claimed the doll in the wooden chapel box shifted before the camera even powered on. Cold breath flickers on camera. A shadow crosses behind the glass. No one there. A faint thump is caught on the mic, like fabric dragged. Researchers later argued the doll's slight tilt could be electromagnetic displacement, but others compared its sudden orientation change to memory echoes, where an object retains a psychic imprint that vibrates in low-frequency ranges, blurring like frost on a pickup windshield yet remaining still as a Nevada stone monument, while the camera registers micro-shifts as jumps. If the box is sealed, the room guarded, and the temperature steady, what exactly is pushing from the inside when the lights go out? The nun in the passage. During a restricted basement tour in a European monastery archive, a visitor's phone recorded a figure behind the no entry band that should have been a motionless display. A pale outline flickers on camera. Its veil ripples against no air. The barrier tape twitches as if scanned by unseen fingers. Analysts suggested EM interference caused the glow around the nun's silhouette, but local folklore links the image to a banshee-like apparition. Historical notes describe a veiled woman lamenting in narrow tunnels, her presence freezing the air and bending lantern flames, just as modern footage shows clarity dissolving into static like heat above desert asphalt yet gliding forward with cold precision. If no one was allowed in that corridor and every door was locked from the outside, who or what tried to step into the light? The doll that turned, captured on a fixed museum webcam in the children's room exhibit, the footage shows a doll in a white dress suddenly appearing closer to the doorway without any staff present. The figure blurs mid-frame. A soft scrape is caught on audio. Other dolls seem to lean, filmed shifting by millimeters. Some specialists think the movement could be subtle floor vibration, but skeptics point out the displacement is directional and deliberate, like an imprinted spatial memory reenacting an old path. Drifting light as chilled air but sliding fast like an NHL forward on untouched ice, while the camera glitches as though something moved faster than shutter timing should allow. If nothing mechanical is hidden beneath the carpet, what instinct guides an object to inch toward the only exit? The thriller corridor presence. Urban explorers entered an abandoned attraction and filmed a thriller-era mannequin that seemed to lean forward when the flashlight beam hit, though the floor around it was stable. The face flickers between frames. Cobwebs sway without wind. A muted groan is caught on the mic. No humans nearby. Experts dismissed it as settling debris, yet others argue the figure's posture shift resembles shadow person mimicry, where a non-living form temporarily adopts motion patterns of residual entities, blurring like condensation on a cold mirror but holding an unnerving stillness like a statue left in a Nevada roadside shrine. When light itself triggers reaction, are we illuminating something or waking it? The Annabelle glass static. During a guided walkthrough of a paranormal museum, a visitor's TikTok captured the real ragged-style doll behind glass while the lights distorted in rhythmic pulses not visible in person. Red glow warps on camera. The doll's shadow bends the wrong way. A low hum is caught, then stops instantly. Technicians claimed electrical interference, but folklore researchers noticed similarities to Pontonic manifestations. Historical accounts mention a cold female presence warping lantern light, creating backward shadows and pressurizing the air until it vibrates, just as the footage's frame edges twist like melted film, yet remain sharply focused at the center. If the glass is meant to contain energy, what does it mean when the energy pushes outward? The girl in the red case. A museum in Omaha released footage where a child-sized doll named Angela appeared to shift her weight inside a fully locked display cabinet illuminated only by emergency red light. A hand lifts slightly on camera. The cabinet's latch rattles. A whisper, short, clipped, is caught, then silenced. Some say thermal expansion caused the movement, but others argue the doll's subtle turn aligns with environmental imprint resonance, where spaces with traumatic histories generate audio shadows, soft, nearly human, moving like cool air from an AC vent, yet stopping short with the surgical precision of a motion capture glitch. If a sealed case is the safest place for the object, what happens when the object stops wanting to stay inside? The whispering mask shift. During a 2023 demo shoot inside a Red Room artifact vault, a handheld phone recorded the moment a lacquered mask behind the presenter seemed to exhale before the frame cut. A hiss is caught on audio. The jawline dips on camera. A shadow crawls upward, wrong direction. Scientists later argued micro-vibrations from machinery, yet folklore archivists noted its unsettling similarity to La Llorona masks described in 19th century journals. Faces that breathe in grief, generating low-frequency resonance that blurs like steam across a truck windshield, but freezes solid like Nevada sandstone when directly lit, causing cameras to skip frames and redraw shadows. If a mask has no lungs, no hinges, and no mechanism, then whose breath pushed the air toward the microphone? The puppet balcony shift. Captured at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum during a guided walkthrough, a tourist's phone pans upward and freezes as several balcony puppets appear subtly repositioned between frames. A head tilts, caught on playback. A tiny arm swings without momentum. The background organ hums spikes, then drops. Technical crews suggested the effect was light refraction, but paranormal historians linked the movement to string memory hauntings, where old marionettes retain kinetic patterns of past performances, gliding light as cold breath yet jerking fast as an NHL skater changing direction, while cameras distort like a wrinkled theater curtain in mid-flash. If no strings hang above them anymore, what unseen hands rehearse the old routine? The Bride Behind Glass. A surveillance recording from a lesser-known occult exhibit shows a white-gowned porcelain doll leaning forward after an EMF meter spikes, though no staff were nearby. The dress rustles on camera, the reflection warps, a faint click echoes, caught twice. Some analysts blame temperature gradients within the display, but others pointed to resonant imprint entanglement, a theory proposing that objects exposed to emotional trauma emit low-frequency pulses, soft as AC breath but shifting with sudden direction changes like a startled deer, causing optical bend and ghost trace echoes on glass surfaces. If the glass is meant to isolate the doll, why does the distortion seem to come from the inside, pushing outward? The Clown Frequency Room. In a dim alcove at the Museum of Shadows, an overnight live stream captured clown figurines while a REM pod alarm triggered with no visible movement. Green LED flares, caught on lens. A ceramic head appears turned. The static hisses, then whispers. Technicians attempted to debunk it as Wi-Fi interference, but folkloric comparisons emerged linking it to banshee-type frequency anomalies, shrill, rising waves that warp electromagnetic readings, blurring forms like condensation on cold chrome, yet snapping back with the rigid stillness of carnival plaster. If clowns are only painted clay, what intelligence manipulates the waves surrounding them? The Monkey That Watches. Visitors at Zach Bagans' museum filmed a display shelf where the symbol-holding monkey seemed to track motion with its glassy eyes, though playback shows no conscious blink, only jump cuts of shifted gaze. The stare locks on camera. The candle flickers sideways. A scraping sound is caught, slow, metallic. Experts proposed optical illusion, but others compare it to shadow entity mimicry, where non-living figures adopt the posture and awareness of unseen presences, moving subtly like chilled breath, yet freezing rigid like stone gargoyles perched above Nevada chapels, compressing air pressure just enough to register on microphones. If the monkey isn't alive, why does its gaze choose a direction? The skinless presence stillness. Footage from a Chinese horror museum exhibits two anatomical sculptures, but one appears subtly rotated on a later recording, despite its weight and bolted base. A tendon twitches on camera. A shadow lengthens unnaturally. The air monitor drops 5 degrees instantly. Science dismissed it as light angle illusion, but spiritual scholars linked the posture change to echoforms, spirits that inhabit anatomical displays due to their incomplete identity, moving lightly as cold mist, yet holding stillness heavy as iron, causing cameras to read microshifts as warped silhouettes. If the figure has no muscles or sinew to move, who or what willed the rotation? The child mummy shift. During a restricted morning inspection inside an Egyptian storeroom, a researcher's phone recorded the tiny mummy's eyelids appearing slightly parted on the second pass of the camera. A crackle of linen is caught. A dark blur twitches on camera. Cold air rolls upward from the coffin. Some experts blame humidity changes, yet others draw parallels to ancient Keftu legends, spirits of unburied children that linger near preserved bodies, drifting light as a desert breeze, but freezing suddenly like stone idols in a Nevada roadside shrine, causing micro-movements misread as frame jumps and shadows bending the wrong way. If the child has been still for millennia, why does the room feel like something small is trying to wake? The Pharaoh's breath. A tourist filming King Tut's display at the Cairo Museum caught a brief shimmer across the mummy's mouth, as though the lips exhaled when the camera drew closer. Soft static rises on audio. A faint puff distorts the lens. Cloth shifts with no visible touch. Scientists propose air pressure equalization in the case, but folklore archivists argue the phenomenon matches ancient K-drafts, spiritual remnants believed to hover around royal bodies, flickering like heat on a truck windshield, yet remaining unnaturally still like a marble tomb slab, producing bursts of low-frequency vibration. If the case is sealed airtight, what created the breath that fogged the camera? The 347 M glass fall. Security footage recorded by a night guard inside a Mexican museum shows a small display cup sliding forward and dropping off a shelf with no human near it. The object glides on camera. A whisper echoes behind him. Lights flicker, then steady. Skeptics claim vibration from traffic, but engineers studied the video and found no synchronized tremor, prompting comparisons to shadow displacement. Entities moving objects lightly as cool mist, yet with deliberate paths like an NHL skater on untouched ice, creating EM distortions that warp reflections for a split second. If nothing touched the shelf, what unseen presence chose that exact moment to announce itself? The statue in the scanner. A CT lab technician filmed a golden Buddha statue being scanned when the monitor briefly flashed a humanoid shape curled inside, despite prior imaging showing it hollow. The screen flickers violently. A dark form pulses, caught on playback. The statue tilts, though braced. Researchers suspect sensor glitching, but occult historians tie the phenomenon to monk mummification rites, where consciousness was believed to linger inside statues, vibrating infrasound so low it blurs like fogged glass but holds form like volcanic rock, causing machines to misread internal voids as moving silhouettes. If the statue is empty, who or what pressed against the scanner's field? The baboon head ritual echo. At a horror exhibit featuring an artifact labeled baboon head, visitors reported the hair lifting slightly whenever the red lights flickered, a moment caught by a passerby's phone. The fur rises on camera. A guttural hum is caught once. A shadow stretches in reverse. Technicians call it airflow, yet folkloric researchers linked it to West African ritual echoes, believed to retain predatory energy, moving subtly like refrigerated air but jerking sharply like a cornered animal, bending shadows in the wrong direction, and triggering static spikes in equipment. If the head is only a relic, why does it respond as though something still hunts through it? The smiling wooden girl. A flashlight test inside a dim archive shows a carved wooden girl whose eyes seem to shift toward the lens, though the head remains unmoving on playback. The pupils brighten unnaturally. A creak sounds behind the filmer. The dress cast shadow moves alone. Some attribute this to reflective paint, but others compare it to Pontianak-like illusions, entities capable of borrowing humanoid forms, blurring lightly like frost in headlights, yet holding a predatory stillness, like a mannequin in a locked Nevada gas station at 2 a.m., generating a sense of being watched even in silence. If the doll never moves, why does every viewer feel it already knows they're there? The canopic faces that watch. Filmed during a quiet afternoon tour inside the Cairo Museum, a visitor's phone captured the moment the carved faces atop King Tut's canopic chest seem to angle closer toward each other. A faint scrape is caught, a shadow flickers behind the box, one lid twitches. Filmed clearly. Curators blame shifting reflections, yet folklore scholars note parallels to K-binding, where protective deities, Isis and Nephthys, were believed to animate statues during guarding rites, moving light as incense smoke, yet freezing solid like sandstone pillars at a Nevada truck stop, distorting cameras with low-frequency resonance that bends shadows inward instead of outward. If these guardians are only carved stone, why does their gaze seem to return when the room goes silent? The man who seems to breathe. During a promotional walkthrough in the Egyptian Museum, a visitor recorded the wooden statue of Khafre and noticed a pulse-like shimmer crossing the statue's throat. The eyes glint unnaturally. A soft inhale is caught on audio. The frame jitters as if pushed. Experts claim optical illusion, yet ancient texts describe royal K-spirit statues that borrow breath from the living, drawing infrasound vibrations that blur like windshield fog, but hold unmoving stillness, like a stone effigy under desert moonlight. If this statue never lived, what force tries to breathe through it now? The forbidden satire shift. A late-night museum sweep captured an 1800s preserved sheath, once dismissed as a joke artifact, showing faint movement in the ink illustration etched on its surface. The drawing ripples on camera. One figure seems to turn. A whisper of paper moves with no breeze. Archivists insist humidity caused it, yet occult historians argue this matches print echoes, where imagery absorbs psychic residue, moving lightly like chilled breath but shifting abruptly like an NHL skater, creating micro-distortions as if the drawing remembers a scene the living have forgotten. If the artwork is only ink, why does it behave like it's reenacting something? The handbag of the gods. A tourist filmed an Assyrian relief in the British Museum when the carved handbag object appeared to shimmer, like a metallic reflection, though the stone is matte. A glow pulses on camera, the carved fingers blur, the shadow of the bag stretches downwards. Archaeologists dismiss it as lighting, but some compare it to depictions of Apkallu, winged guardians said to carry life essence vessels, recorded in tablets as vibrating jars, radiating frequencies soft as cool fog, yet shifting with surgical precision, like a mechanical piston, causing cameras to distort as if scanning something alive. If the carving is ancient stone, why did the shadow move independently from the figure? The ancient Peru ritual freeze. In a Peruvian exhibit, a man filming a 2,000-year-old ceramic vessel captured the upper figure's hands, lowering slightly between frames, though the piece is solid clay. A tap echoes, caught faintly. The glaze shines, then dulls. The base vibrates without contact. Scientists argue temperature contraction, yet mythologists link it to Andean healing rites, where vessels embodied spirit intermediaries, shifting lightly like cold night wind, but stopping abruptly like a carved idol mid-chant, creating image stutter reminiscent of low-frequency resonance. If clay cannot bend, what force moved the hands? The jar child glowing. Recorded inside Malaysia's Ghost Museum, a visitor filmed a toy-all jar when a pale green shape inside opened its eyes for half a second before fading into reflection again. The glass fogs on camera. A shape presses from inside. A rasping breath is caught once. Curators say it's humidity, but Southeast Asian folklore warns of toy-all spirits. Infant-like entities drifting light as chilled vapor, yet sliding fast like a shadow across tile, causing electronic sensors to misread motion and lights to pulse as if scanned by something searching. If the jar is sealed tight, what tried to look back? The skull that twitched. During a late-night inventory sweep in a private occult archive, a curator's phone captured a human skull shifting a few millimeters on its pedestal between two slow pans. A hollow clack is caught. The jaw darkens, on camera only. A cold draft rises without vents. Some researchers claim it's settling bone, but energy mapping teams noted an EM spike typical of residual cranial echoes. A theory suggesting trauma imprints vibrational memory that flickers like frost on a truck windshield, yet holds stillness like a granite statue in Nevada heat, creating micro-movements that cameras record as jerks or jumps. If the skull is truly lifeless, what force inside it is trying to realign? The Crooked Man's Loop. Filmed at a haunted museum workshop, a rotating zoetrope shows the Crooked Man figure cycling smoothly until a frame appears where the silhouette vanishes entirely. A flash of static floods the reel. A shadow leans over the monkey doll. The rotation wobbles as if resisted. Engineers blamed motor stutter, yet specialists noted the anomaly matches frame bleed, where infrasound fields disrupt sequential imagery, moving light like cigarette smoke but twisting sharply like an NHL player reversing direction, causing one frame to deform into negative space as if something stepped out instead of staying inside. If animation can't skip a frame by itself, where did the missing figure go? The glass coffin shift. At a ghost-themed installation in Toulouse, a visitor's camera catches a motionless figure inside a transparent coffin until the feet tilt a few degrees without external contact. The fabric lifts slightly. A dull thunk echoes under the platform. The coffin fogs at one corner. Organizers claim pressure changes, yet parapsychologists compared the movement to corporeal echo displacement, when lifelike replicas absorb human focus and generate micro-vibrations, drifting like chilled breeze but halting with the weight of a Nevada stone monument, fooling sensors and warping shadows at their edges. If the replica never breathes, why does the glass react as though something inside is shifting position? The Digital Girl Who Blinked, a visitor filming a framed animated ghost display in Malacca, recorded a single moment where the creature's white, dead eyes briefly blinked, though the looped footage contains no blink frames. The pupils flicker red, the wall behind ripples. A hiss leaks into the audio. Technicians argue screen lag, but mythologists compare the effect to parasitic visual hitchhiking, where entities mimic digital faces, gliding soft as cold fog yet freezing abruptly like a mannequin in desert moonlight to ride attention and distort the viewer's depth perception. If the animation is pre-rendered, who added the blink? The Exorcist figure glitch. At the Museum of Moving Images, a visitor filmed the Regan prop when the glass reflection momentarily showed the doll's head turned farther than the real model behind it. Reflection turns, caught clearly. Lips twitch once. The overhead light fizzles, then steadies. VFX experts suspect layered glare, yet anomaly analysts see patterns of mirror displacement, a phenomenon where the reflection behaves as its own entity, shimmering like fogged glass but locking still like a church statue under moonlight, bending shadows away instead of toward the figure. If reflections mimic reality, what does it mean when the reflection moves first? The Room of Silent Shoes. Recorded respectfully by a visitor at Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial, the camera shows a vast glass room of confiscated shoes, still silent, until one on the far left appears slightly shifted when the lens pans back. A faint tap is caught. Light bends across the glass. Air pressure drops suddenly. Historians do not attribute anything supernatural, but environmental researchers note that sites of extreme trauma often produce low-frequency vibrations, soft as a sinking breath yet focused like a tight beam, causing optical distortion and making objects appear displaced on playback. Not spirits, just the weight of history pressing through silence. If places can remember suffering, what echoes remain when no one is left to speak them? As our journey through haunted museums, forgotten relics, and unexplained footage draws to a close, one truth becomes more impossible to ignore. Not every mystery is meant to be solved. Some truths fight to remain buried. Some stories refuse to stay silent. And some objects, no matter how desperately we try to explain them, exist in a gray space where logic falters and the unknown breathes slowly in the dark. Throughout this exploration, we stood before artifacts that have outlived entire civilizations. We watched silent rooms shift as if touched by invisible hands. We saw cameras distort in places where no human or animal moved. We listened to stories from researchers and witnesses who insisted, sometimes trembling, that what they encountered had no scientific explanation. These were not random coincidences. These were patterns, whispers of something ancient, something aware, something older than language itself. Some objects linger in a strange space between memory and fear. They carry the weight of the past on their surfaces, yet the real terror lies in what may still cling to them. A child's toy that laughs when no batteries are inside. A ceremonial mask carved centuries ago that still breathes condensation on the glass that traps it. Musical instruments that play on their own, producing notes no musician recognizes. Each encounter challenges the boundaries of what we believe to be possible. Other relics sit quietly on shelves, yet they radiate a tension that crawls under your skin. You feel it before you see it. An uneasiness, a pressure, a sudden stillness in the room. And when the camera rolls, something subtle always betrays the silence. A shadow that wasn't there before, a flicker of movement in the reflection, a vibration in the audio that shouldn't exist. Skeptics call it glitches, dust, interference. But when the same anomalies appear again and again in different places, under different conditions, the glitch begins to look very much alive. Every artifact we examined carried its own story. Some stories were carved deliberately, others were etched violently by time, and some were never meant for human eyes at all. Yet here we are, staring into them, searching for answers that perhaps humanity is not ready to confront. The more we learn, the more we feel the presence of something watching back, something patient, something ancient, something that does not fear us the way we fear it. And that is the most humbling realization of all. In the face of these mysteries, we are small, we are fragile, our understanding of the world is limited, and our certainty is an illusion. The unknown is vast, and it stretches far beyond the walls of museums, far beyond the footage we captured, far beyond anything we can measure or name. If these stories stirred your curiosity, unsettled you, or made you question what truly exists beyond our sight, then stay with us. There is so much more to uncover. Before we move into the next investigation, take a moment to like the video, comment which moment chilled you the most, and subscribe to Mystery Footage Uncovered so you never miss what comes next. Because the journey is nowhere near finished, and the darkness still has many stories left to tell.